Hello, I'm Rena from Ampasimon. Last week, we gave the webinar together with Wind Europe on the topic of system integration, time to optimize the grid. We had a great active audience with many questions about the status of adoption of dynamic line rating and the barriers. These questions have inspired me to make this SideNote video to explain in a little bit more detail the situation. So, the technology is mature. It's a commercially off-the-shelf available product. It fully complies with C-grade and IEEE guidelines on how to design line ratings. It's already passed piloting and validation phase by leading utilities. By now, it's used in control centers for getting rid of congestions, and also it's accepted by regional security coordinators like CORESO and TSCnet for calculating cross-border capacity for market trade. The return on investment is also extremely fast, like in weeks or months, especially in areas where there are high congestion management costs, where there's a lot of pressure to connect renewables, and also where there's constraint on cross-border exchange. So, why? Why isn't it more widely used? Regulation plays a critical role in the form of a carrot and a stick, or chocolate and the switch, or my skipping rope in this case. If you want somebody to do something, what should you do? A horse, your children, your husband. You can punish them if they don't behave well, penalty. Or you can give them a reward. A sweet incentive, like a chocolate, if they do the right thing. Transmission and distribution system operators are monopoly entities that are heavily regulated in the way they can recover investment costs from consumers. If they propose to invest in a new transmission line, this is a large project costing tens of millions of euros. That means they have to explain it very well to the regulator, justify the cost of this huge investment. Once the investment is approved, the grid operator can claim a small portion of the investment to reap its own revenues. Basically, the larger the approved CapEx project, the more revenue for the grid operator. This is the motivation for opting for big projects, reinforcing corridors and building new offshore infrastructure compared to a small OpEx saving. Traditionally, OpEx has a much smaller margin for generating revenue. For example, if this is the incentive created by investing in CapEx projects, this is the incentive for cutting costs on OpEx. So, reducing OpEx includes things like reducing energy losses, saving on maintenance costs, cutting down on the size of the workforce. Not really exciting stuff. These are all considered essential costs to keep the system running, and these costs are then just passed on to the consumer. Here's a fun fact. Did you know that congestion management costs are also considered OpEx? Let's say this is a congestion management cost for 1 month in Germany. Second month, third and fourth, fifth and sixth, 7, 8, 9, 10. In 1 year, this is getting close to 1 billion euros. Now, which is the bigger incentive? Actually, it's still the CapEx. Why? Because this is OpEx and it can be passed on to the consumers. Even if the OpEx cost becomes so large, there's no motivation to reduce these costs because it can be simply passed on as day-to-day running expenses. When OpEx becomes so large, then it doesn't make sense for the utility to pass on these costs to the consumer anymore. It should be incentivized to reduce these costs. By incentives, this means usually that they can claim a little bit of the revenue generated by the cost savings. And this is what progressive regulation does.